It's Bigfoot Collectors Club with Bryce and Michael. I know a ghost story or two. Let's do this.
Whoa, that's just like being back in the clubhouse. We're sitting here listening to the intro in our headphones just like we used to do. And that makes me feel very, very good. This makes no sense to people who haven't been recording the show with us for the past year in quarantine. We're still doing it virtually, but we're working with some new toys. Riley, tell us what's going on.
Well, we've been using Zencastr this whole time to record remotely, and they're not a sponsor, so I'm just talking about them honestly. But they've upgraded to video recording now, and there's a soundboard where I can play cues, and they've really upped their game. And yeah, so this is our first try on it, and it seems like everything's going great.
Yeah,
I mean, with faces like these, why should we be limited to audio only? I mean, come on, what are we talking about here?
That's what, yeah.
Bryce,
Been saying
and I
that
know,
for
and we
years.
haven't really been looking at each other much. Bryce, you look like a young Joey Pantalone character. You look like you should be Joey.
Yeah.
Like you could play
Pants,
young
I'll
Joey
take
Pants.
All right, good.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's the 150th episode of Bigfoot Collectors Club, the show where we talk to amazing guests about their personal paranormal history and share stories of high strangeness. I'm your host, Michael McMillan. With me always is your other host,
Bryce Johnson.
and our super producer,
Riley Bray.
Guys, congratulations on 150 and then some episodes.
Amazing.
Crazy.
Because we have like 8 L-File episodes that were bonus episodes before we started the Patreon, Bigfoot Collectors Club, the other side. So this is probably technically like maybe our 159th or 160th episode, but it's our 150th regularly numbered episode. And tonight we're going to do something special. We're doing our first Zencastr video that, if all goes well, we'll throw this up on the Patreon. If it doesn't, there won't be anything there. So if you want to watch this, go to patreon.com/Bigfoot Collectors Club and join us there on the other side. And no guests for this week. I wanted to celebrate this anniversary with my Bigfoot boys. So here we are.
Yeah, I love that.
Celebrate this anniversary the same way we've celebrated every other holiday this year, alone in our rooms.
It's very fitting. Very fitting. For
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, congrats, dudes. I honestly cannot believe that we've made 150 of these. Plus, I think like just as many on the other side.
Yeah,
right?
there's a
Something
good
like
amount.
that.
There's at least 150 over there.
I think we're now
I
at
did
like
not know what I was signing up for.
we're at like 300 episodes of, and some on the other side are shorter
Overall.
episodes, but like, we've got around, I think, especially since some of our episodes go 2 hours, we've probably got around 350 hours of content that we've made, which is
like those
crazy.
nice Time Life book series, like Mystery
Yeah.
of the Unknown.
Yeah.
We've got our own little shelf now.
Yeah.
It would take like 11 days
Nice.
to listen to the entire BCC catalog back to back. It would be, like,
I would rather not, thank you.
or count to a million. That's your choice.
Yeah.
You either count to a million for 11 days or listen to us straight for all that time. Well,
fun.
thank you. Thank you. We're excited. We're glad to be sharing this with you, the listeners. So we got some fun and games planned. I thought we would kick off this episode with a little BCC News.
And even with sound cues and video, we still.
I'm not
will
hearing
never
shit. I
stick
didn't
that,
hear the
really.
the song intro either, so I don't.
What?
You didn't, Michael? Did you?
Hell
hear it?
yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
Michael was jamming out. Yeah, I felt a little.
Sounds
left
great.
out.
You didn't hear it?
No, I'm sure it was. I'm sure it
Shit.
was.
It was really
Shout
good.
out
It was
to,
good. Oh, so you just went in blind.
I went in blind.
You were just.
What are you gonna do?
Wow.
Yeah.
He used
All right,
those
we'll get there. We'll figure
leading
this out.
man instincts to get him there.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this was a story that's been floating around for a couple weeks. It's way over my head. but I think we have to talk about it based on the headline alone. And don't worry, originally found this story on Scientific American, thought or Popular Mechanics, was like, I don't understand any of this. So I went to vice.com, where I get a lot of my science these days, and they compare it to weed. This story reads, scientists have proposed a new particle that is a portal to a fifth dimension.
Yeah.
Nice. I saw
Trippy,
this.
man.
Yeah.
Science is finally catching up to our podcast.
That's right. This is like the old
big science
biblical adage about like it's easier for a rich man to cross the gates of heaven than it's easier to slip a camel through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to get into heaven. We're about to find out that like Bigfoot's slipping through particles to get to his home dimension. The path to dark matter and other fundamental enigmas may be through a warped extra dimension, according to a new study that proposes a theory of the universe. Scientists want to search for a hypothetical particle that can act as a portal to a warped fifth dimension that mediates the cosmic realms of light and dark. It's very Lord of the Rings already.
Wow.
Yeah, I like it.
You would be forgiven for assuming that that sentence is a science fiction synopsis, but it is actually the mind-boggling upshot of a recent study that seeks to illuminate some of the most persistent enigmas in science. The existence of this speculative particle could provide a natural explanation for the abundance of dark matter, an unidentified substance that accounts for most of the universe's mass, and resolve intractable problems about subatomic particles known as fermions, according to the new research which was published last month in the European Physical Journal C. The study adds that the presence of new physics can explain these fundamental mysteries by presenting a model of the universe with a fifth dimension that can be traversed by particles. The study was authored by Javier Castellano and Matthias Neubert, theoretical physicists at the Prisma Plus Cluster of Excellence. That sounds like a school on the moon. The Prisma Plus Cluster of Excellence. It's like Professor
awesome.
X teaches there.
Yeah.
That's located.
I love new physics too.
It's like, hey man,
sorry to interrupt. Oh, you're into physics? Yeah, I'm into new
the
physics,
shit.
but
just
whatever.
like the X-Men
Physics is
again.
cool.
There's the comic, The New Mutants. You know what I mean? This is very Marvel. The Prisma Plus Cluster of Excellence is located at Johannes Gutenberg's University Mainz, and Adrian Carmona, an Athena or 3I Fellow at the Department of Theoretical Physics and the Cosmos at the University of Granada. Okay, I barely understood that sentence.
These are strange titles. Yeah.
We've been working on a similar topic for quite some time, said the team in an email. Our initial motivation was to explain the possible origin of fermion masses in theories with a warped extra dimension. We knew that the masses of these constituents had some special features which were crying out for explanation. The researchers are part of a long scientific tradition that questions whether the four dimensions that humans can comprehend, 3D space and time, are really all the universe has to offer. This line of research has produced 5-dimensional field equations that express the implications an extra dimension would have on the universe and reality itself. I'll throw up the article in the show notes, of course, but I just fucking love this idea that there might be a particle that leads to this warped fifth dimension.
Yeah.
The portal particle.
Well,
the portal particle.
Here's where Bryce Johnson tries to explain new physics. So it sounds like they're saying that this unknown particle, this hypothetical particle, predicts whether something's going to have dark mass or regular light, right? So you guys remember that big like Higgs boson particle? They called it the God particle, and they called it that because they thought that particle might give credence to what molecules and what particles would become. So it almost like assigned what particles would become. Like you're going to be carbon and you're going to be hydrogen, and that's why they called it the God particle, right? Because it assigned property. It sounds like this particle assigns whether these other particles are going to be part of the dark mass, or part of the light world, and so
dark matter. Yeah.
dark matter, right?
I love that. It's a great interpretation of that. I think
That's really what
a cool
they're
thought and
really
makes sense.
trying to actually, like, dark matter they believe exists as far as I understand, but they haven't been able to like prove it because we can't see it. And it
Right.
would help explain some laws of gravity and physics that they quite can't account for. And
Yeah.
that they think this
Yeah.
hypothetical particle would lead to the discovery and the confirmation of dark matter, basically, and how
Yeah.
it interacts with the particles that we currently know.
Well, that's
This is all
exactly right, because
Yeah.
all the scientists pretty much they really feel confident that dark matter exists, and that it takes up, like the oceans of Earth, like 70% of the known universe, which is just incredible.
Mhm.
And it's not just nothing. It's not just no space, but it has properties of its own. So it's
Yeah,
fascinating.
it has mass.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think as science continues to go on, we're going to
I was-
find more than five dimensions. I think it'll just keep ticking up there.
What isn't it supposed to be like 11? Like Brian Greene talked about the
Superstring
super
theory.
string theory. There might be 11 dimensions. It's been a long time since I've dove into string theory. I think I was in college when I was last talking about that, which is
It was really trendy for a minute
Yeah.
there, string theory. It had a moment.
yeah. I wonder.
It was like in the Eat, Pray, Love period of culture.
It was the Eat, Pray, Love of astrophysics and quantum physics.
It totally was. We're calling that.
But they
here. I just love about dark matter. It's like, sorry, I can't move on from dark matter yet, because I would like. It's just so funny that we're like, okay, the universe, we have a pretty good understanding, except for about 90% of
Right.
it, we have no idea.
Totally.
I just like love what that says about like us and our understanding, but also that we're willing to accept that. It's like, okay, we understand this little part, but there's so much more than this little part, and we're just there's still so much more to
Yeah.
know.
Well, and that's why
Yeah,
I
it's
like this
fascinating.
story, because it does sort of, and again, like Bryce pointed out, the Higgs boson, they talk about it in this, that was theoretical up until a few years ago, I think like 2011 or 12. So they could like really figure this out within the next couple of years and find this thing. They might be able to use something like the what's the name of the big collider in the particle collider in
Hedron,
large
the
halidron.
Yeah.
Halidron.
I think it's like the
Something
Hedron Collider. Yeah,
the one that everyone, the conspiracy theorists are afraid is going to open up a black
Yeah.
hole and swallow us
CERN.
whole. But
It's
Yeah.
at the CERN laboratory.
Yeah.
in Geneva, Switzerland, I think.
yeah, so it's cool, and I like it because I love it when science gets weird, and it's like
And dude, we're talking
there's
about portals.
so much more out there than we know about.
Yeah, let's get
We're
down
just
to brass
talking about, We're
tacks
talking
here.
about fucking portals here.
Portals.
And,
It's
when we
portal
started-
science.
It's portal science. When we
Yeah.
started this podcast,
About time.
Yeah, portals. People were like, that's a great theory, but pretty soon it's going to be like, boom, Bigfoot goes through portals. We can prove it.
Bigfoot is what if all these cryptids are composed of dark matter that when they cross over into our dimension become visible? I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Why
I
not?
think
Sure.
I'm
Maybe it's the
understanding
dimensional
science.
overlap. Yeah, that's science, right?
That's science, right?
And that's what we call new
Yeah, that'll work.
physics.
That'll work.
New physics, bro. Get used to it. BCCs.
Oh my god.
Your new science teacher. Oh God. But anyway, I just think it's a cool article. You can check it out in the show notes. I don't know. Final thoughts on the particle portal science?
I mean, I'm always excited by it. I always a little bit don't understand
Yeah.
it.
Oh,
It
yeah.
also always seems
Nobody
like they're like,
understands.
we came up with a new way of thinking about things, which I guess is all anything is. But I love it. I'm into it. Yeah, let's find that fifth dimension. But it seems like it's the unknowable edge, maybe.
You know what?
But we should always
Yeah.
chase it.
Well,
I
that
agree.
warped fifth dimension could be like the spirit realm. It could be where maybe our consciousness travels through, the fourth, crosses the fourth dimension and goes into that side. And then suddenly you're seeing all of space time from the outside. I think,
You know what I love is it seems to be like, it beckons to me like this user created universe, right? So there's all these particles that are still we don't know about, and we suggest that they exist, and there's a bunch of them, right? And as soon as we're sort of like give
Yeah.
name to one, or we start thinking about it more, boom, it pops into existence, and then we can find it, like the Higgs boson. And And I love that they're just like, well, maybe there's a portal particle. And then, you know, yeah, good one, Steve. And then, you know, like 10 years later, they're like, portal particle. And so it's almost like,
Dude, found it. I found it. It's right here. Look right under my finger. Portal particle, yo.
So it's almost like
we'll call it the Steve portal particle.
But, you know, it makes me think that perhaps maybe that, you know, the more we give attention to these things and put our thoughts into it, perhaps the universe manifests it and bends it to our will, you know. I don't know. Strange.
I
love it.
I wonder how many scientists are named Steve.
At least 30%.
A good handful, I'm sure.
All right.
Oh, you go
30%. 1/3 of scientists are named Steve.
Yeah. They won't go by Steve. They'll
Steven.
Suggest you say Steven, but really at home.
No, I think they have to go by Steve. That's my point. They have to go by Steve.
Right.
Oh, this has gone off track.
All right. Well, anyway, we'll move on from that to our next segment, which I'm kind of looking forward to. In lieu of having a guest today, I reached out on Twitter and Instagram, and I asked our dear listeners if they had any lingering questions about any of our stories of high strangeness over the past 150 episodes. I got a few of those, but then I think some of the listeners sort of took some artistic liberty, which is great, and branched out into just general questions that I don't think we've addressed on our big Q&A episode over on the other side, which as of right now is still available to listen to. We put up on last November, but it's going to go down very shortly. So check that out if you haven't listened to it yet. But I thought what I would do is just pull up my Instagram and scroll through some of these questions. This is very high tech. This is like sort of what you do on Expedition Bigfoot, Bryce. I've got this massive computer in front of me, and I'm gonna put together an algorithm.
Do it.
It's almost the same.
Same thing.
Yeah, and let's check out some of these questions and see what answers lurk in the dark recesses of the dark matter of our minds. Okay, so Cloven Tongue asks. First of all, I don't trust you. I don't trust you. You're clearly the serpent in the garden. As a group, have you guys ever thought about, this is right out of the gate, ever thought about going to one of those DMT retreats in South America? Maybe after COVID is over, it can be on location with BCC special.
You know, yes, I've thought about it. You know, I kind of have. Let me just get my kids through school first. You know what I mean? And then,
before daddy's brain goes to through a portal particle.
Let me just finish my obligation and responsibility, and then Brycey go bye-bye time.
That's fair. Let's leave it at that.
That's kind of what
Plus, you know, I don't.
Go ahead, Riley.
I don't know if it's a group. I mean, also, I don't see myself going to South America anytime soon. You know, maybe it's not a group trip. It seems like that's more of a solo endeavor,
you know what? I disagree. I think actually years ago, I went to a couple, checked out. A friend of a friend had gone down and done an ayahuasca retreat in either Peru or down in the Amazon forest somewhere. I can't remember where this particular group was located. But I remember they had like a meeting at the Universal Sheraton Hotel in Universal City here.
Oh wow!
And I went and I just kind of listened to like what they did, and it was like one of those things where it's like you sign up, you go down, they have a shaman there, and you do basically, I think you stay down there for a week. You're in like the rainforest, and you would do like 3 trips over the course of a week.
Yeah.
So you'd like do one, kind of cleanse yourself the next day, do it again, cleanse yourself the next day, do it again, and then come back home. And the thing that people would talk about was like how they felt like the plant was calling them. They kind of like my friend basically, or the friend of a friend was like, I had just the sense that I was supposed to go do this, you know? And he was a very successful, functioning, full capable adult, has had he's an actor with a fucking great career. Didn't go off on the deep end on this stuff at all, you know, and this didn't feel really culty or anything. But yeah, they would just go down and do this and then do like ayahuasca and have these trips and then talk about the next day, like what their trip was like and what they learned. And he really emphasized that like he felt this plant consciousness made contact with him. And then that carried through in his day-to-day life after that, and he
Wow.
would go back
That's
down
great.
every
Yeah.
now and then just to sort of like commune with this consciousness. And I was very fascinated by it. I chickened out of going. I was just a little too weirded out. I mean, the one thing, if you're doing it as a group, you are going to probably throw up and maybe shit in a bucket next to somebody. So we'd all have to be
Yeah, the
comfortable
purge.
with like the purging around one another. But I actually think if it was a controlled group like that, and if it wasn't sketchy and we weren't crossing any like sketchy cultural lines, but like by going down to the Amazon rainforest and be like, give me some ayahuasca,
Yeah.
then I would be open to it. But I
I
right now it still scares me a little bit.
I think you were right not to treat it as recreational. I mean, from what I understand,
Yeah.
it's a very profound experience, and you need to go in there with serious intention, whether you want to work on something, work on yourself, or have an experience. There needs to be some intent there. It can't just be laissez-faire.
And I think the shaman's there to
Yeah.
sing the
Well put.
Icaros, I think it's called, to kind of keep you going through that journey. And if they see you're having a bad trip, they're there to kind of help you get through it. And I've heard of people who've done it here in the States or done it
Yeah,
recreationally without a shaman, and that just sounds like a bad idea. Also, I think some of these organizations are scams, so you have to be
yeah, dude.
careful about it. So you know what, maybe one day, maybe not for a podcast, but maybe we could talk about it afterward. But I still think it's like illegal for us to go do it, so we'd have to kind of be quiet about it, I think.
My
I don't
name's
know.
Damien, and I just got my shaman license off the internet.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so now my house or my casa is an actual church. So I just got this new release, and I brought in some ayahuasca, and it's totally legal.
Wait. So you're saying there's hippies that will scam you into ayahuasca ceremonies? I don't.
No, it's a
What do you
shaman.
mean?
I'm not a hippie. I'm a shaman.
Oh,
Shaman.
Right.
okay, cool.
Suburban shaman.
.com is where you got your license. Certified.
Certifiable, baby.
All right, what else?
Here's
you
a
got,
quickie.
Michael? We spent 20 minutes on
This
the
is
first
a
question.
quickie. Stephen Meyer Jr. asks, "Are there any episodes about the chupacabra? I haven't heard one yet." Well, Stephen Meyer,
Yes.
you haven't listened to our entire back catalog, because there's a very great episode about the chupacabra. One of my favorite episodes.
Tom Lank.
Bryce does it. Tom Lank is our guest. It's episode 34.
Wow.
So as Wolf Mungus pointed out in the comments, so go check that out. We've definitely covered the chupacabra. Brujo Sereno says, "How would you describe high strangeness at its most basic?" You're a real basic high strangeness bitch.
Well, so for me, high strangeness is something that exists on the perimeter of oddity itself, right? So you have all whether it's the UFO contactee experience, the abduction phenomena, the Bigfoot phenomenon. High strangeness to me is stuff that sort of lives on the edge. It's the things that doesn't fit into somebody's box, right? So whether that's a strange detail about a sighting, or little men wearing spacesuits and jumpers, that's high strangeness to me. I guess it's anything out of the ordinary in the paranormal world. Might be a better way to put it. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Riley?
I would say it's accounts or events that can't be explained by traditional logic or like known existing factors. Just like anything that's like that is quantifiable but unexplainable. Or where it contains connections that are beyond just the basic facts of the moment. Like a deeper kind of realm
I
connection.
like that.
Yeah, I think that's all. I think these are all great. I've always considered it to be high. Okay, so you got your basic strangeness, which is like seeing a UFO or having a Bigfoot encounter. The high strangeness is then that kicking up a notch, like the Bigfoot turns invisible or the alien comes out and makes you pancakes. Not
That's good.
technically not all of our stories of high strangeness, I think, actually fit into the high strangeness category. Although, as we've learned, the more you dig into it, sometimes the strangers the story gets. Like Ape Canyon is a perfect example we've talked about on the show recently, where, okay, Bigfoot's attacking a cabin and a bunch of like miners or prospectors. Strange. But then the prospectors having found that canyon based upon like guided messages from an angelic spirit that led them there. High strangeness, right?
Yeah.
So it's when
There's
you
levels
kick it
to
up,
this shit.
you kick it
I
up
like
that
that. That's cool.
extra notch, and you're in that juicy high strangeness place.
High strangeness is juicy. Yeah, it's got to be juicy.
And typically involves weird costumes. I feel like,
Totally.
an alien, strange. An alien wearing a clown costume, high strangeness.
Right. For
Like
sure,
the
100%.
more absurd it is, the more highly strange it becomes in my mind. Nightgeist podcast says, do you believe our consciousness exists outside of our body? And do you think ancient spirits, ghosts like Neanderthals are not documented because they've had so much more time to move on? Love the podcast. Cheers to 150. Thank you, Nightgeist podcast. So what do you
Riley,
think?
why don't you
Consciousness exists outside the body? First question.
I don't think that my consciousness exists outside of my body. I can't speak for everyone else's consciousness because I can't experience them. I think you can project your consciousness out of your body, and I've definitely experienced that, like where I'm conscious but I'm not in my body. I mean, everyone experiences that, I guess, when you dream. So I guess that I am speaking for everyone. But just roll that over. So, but no, I feel like I feel a little bound to my meat computer, but like where I came from before that, the spark seems other. But this particular incarnation, I feel like feels confined to this.
To that 6'7" hunk of meat.
Hunk of meat,
Hey there.
baby. Well, this is the big question, right? This is what it all comes down to. I mean, this is the big kahuna, right? And is it mind before matter or matter before mind? And I believe that it's mind before matter. That our brain, this meat suit, is just a receiver, and we receive our consciousness from elsewhere. I think this whole ball of wax is going to come down to consciousness and our understanding of it. We know nothing about it today, and I think once we get a firm grasp on what it is, where it comes from, and how it works, we're going to understand all this crazy shit that takes place, and what reality actually is. I mean, it's the same question, right? Is there a God, right? So it's like, what started before there was nothing? Who made nothing? Was there a mind there that created matter? And or what is it, our brains that just concocted this sort of epiphaneal consciousness? I don't think so. And you know what? There's good data to suggest that the consciousness does survive bodily death. Even there's some great literature out there that would suggest that people's consciousness does survive.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the way you frame the question, right? So, do I think consciousness exists outside the body? I'm sort of I'm in both camps, actually. Like, no, not in this dimension. I think that the consciousness is piloting these bodies that we're in. And I think you can take the pilot out of the aircraft, so to speak, but the pilot is in this aircraft until our bodies, until we die. is it possible that there's
That's a good, yeah.
is it possible that, like, again, where did the pilot come from? So maybe our consciousness exists outside in that fifth dimension or higher dimension, and then drops down here through the birth process, whatever that is. And then through the death process recedes back to wherever we came from. But I think while we're here, we're pretty much here, and our consciousness is in these bodies. And I think that causes a lot of neuroses. I think it causes a lot of like feelings of separation when we're really all sort of linked by one giant conscious thing, you know? I think like Riley says, I think maybe it's possible for some people to project their consciousness. And then I definitely think that it's possible to manifest our consciousness in art, in things that we create, in actions. And I think that really the reality that we're in is so heavily influenced by the manifestations of everybody's thoughts and feelings and consciousness, you know? So there is a as above, so below aspect to that. So in an abstract sense, yes. In a concrete sense, I think no. Does that add up?
Does. I just want to say one more thing. I always love the analogy of consciousness as an ocean, right? And let's pretend consciousness is an ocean, and you could take a thimble or a little cup, and you could dip it into the ocean and take it out, and that cup would be individual. That cup of ocean would be individual of the ocean, but it would contain all that the ocean was inside that cup, and it could rejoin the ocean and whatnot, but it's still separate, but still of the same thing, you know?
Right. So if we're all individual glasses of water, our consciousness all comes from the same ocean, and therefore we're one in that sense.
I think so.
It's like consciousness is the dark matter of the brain. It's that 90% that's like on the edge of unknowable. It's like, I think we'll be trying to figure out how our brains work until we merge with AI and leave our bodies.
Well, hey, maybe that's the next particle to come out of new physics, the consciousness particle.
Well, the spirit DMT is apparently the spirit molecule, so who knows?
Fucking A.
I mean, that's not a particle. I understand that, but the second part of this question: do you think ancient spirits and ghosts like Neanderthals are not documented because they've had so much more time to move on?
I think they're not documented because you find what you're looking for, and people are looking for, 1800s old-timey ghosts and spooky Victorian mansion ghosts. It's like I think we're reflecting on where we came from in that degree, like just the mind collectively together, like those are the kind of ghosts we're looking for, and so that's what we see. That's what I think.
I mean, who says they're not documented? You know what I mean? Isn't there a famous seance story where they like an ape man or almost like a Bigfoot creature appeared during a seance, like manifested itself? I mean, when I think about, I think this stuff like ties into, and we've been hitting it hard lately, where the footprints end, which is just up there on my bookshelf. But maybe some of these nature spirits or some of these Bigfoots are actually ghosts of Neanderthals or primordial man that are haunting the woods. I don't know. I'm open to it. I don't think they've necessarily moved on,
Yeah, totally.
You good with that,
what
Bryce?
Else you got?
Yeah, no. Moving on.
Have any of you ever had a premonition type of experience?
Yeah. Like prophetic dream. I mean, I had that. That prophetic dream sounds so self-important. You know what I mean?
No,
but I did. I talked about it on the podcast where I had a dream before the night of 9/10 going into 9/11 about being on a hijacked airplane. And in my dream, it didn't crash. But then like I woke up and it was 9/11. And I was like, it's like to this day, the craziest like dream experience I've ever had. And like it absolutely happened. I can't explain it.
Wow.
It's weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
I always. Oh, go ahead, Michael.
I was just gonna say I have, but they've always been pretty insignificant. Like I remember taking a nap in high school and having a dream that my dad opened the door, walked in, opened up my blinds, told me to get up because we were about to leave for dinner, and I watched him like march around my room and then walk out the door. And as soon as he shut the door in my dream, the door opened in real life, woke me up, and my dad repeated every single step and every single word I had just dreamed.
Oh, that's
You know,
trippy.
so I've had stuff like that. I also had one where around the same time where I couldn't find the TV remote for my room, and I'd searched everywhere, and I had a dream. I know it's benign, like I said, doesn't fucking matter, but
no, it's important.
this is why it's like no, well, but this is why. But I remember the
yeah.
time being like that. Why this? But I had a dream that I went into my closet, dug through my laundry, and the remote was sitting at the very bottom of my dirty clothes hamper. And when I woke up that morning, I went and checked, and there it was. Now, maybe that was a repressed memory, but I was like, well, I found
something in you reaching out like, the remote,
yeah. But
it's in the wastebasket. I must watch television.
But I clearly had a dream about it, and it there like crystal clear, and there it was. But it's only been I've never had anything where I was like, this is major and this is really warning me of something. But those were the two that jumped out at me, and they're completely benign.
Yeah,
what were you going to say, Bryce?
Bryce?
I was going to say the
prophecies?
thing that comes to my mind was when I met my wife Dawn, and we went to Wreck Beach, which is this killer beach in Vancouver, and you got to go down all these steps to get there, and so on the beach they have these dudes who are naked and they're wearing like fanny packs and like ice cold beer, mushrooms, ecstasy, weed. And like, so I was like, I'll take some mushrooms. And they can do that, right? Because if cops come down these steps, the bongo players on the beach play the theme to Hawaii 5-0, so they know the cops are coming, and everyone knows Hawaii 5-0. Everyone knows to bury their stash. So good. Right? Everyone knows to bury their stash. So it's like
this is like Club Bryce vacation.
Club Bryce on a fucking beach, right?
Yeah. Spring break edition.
It's so trippy. Anyway, I took mushrooms.
Beach Club Bryce.
Yeah, totally. And
wait. We've talked about this story.
Yeah, I've talked about this story before, and I'm kind of like, and I'm kind of like,
though. I love it.
I'm on this log, and I'm kind of like looking into the sun on the periphery, and something starts talking back to me, right? Like an intelligence, and he says, you will marry that girl, Dawn. And I was like, oh! And I was really worried about, like, I was smoking cigarettes at the time, and I was like, oh my God, hope these things don't kill me. It's like, don't worry, you will not die from cigarettes. And I was like, okay. And so that was, I guess, I don't know if that's prophetic.
And you were on mushrooms, clearly.
I was on mushrooms, yeah.
You clearly.
I mean,
clearly, definitely.
Whether the prophecy's self-fulfilling or not, it was prophetic. Well, it was a moment of clarity.
I had only known her 3 days, and it totally came true. I mean, like, wow. So it was like, it's not something I would have just like thought out of the blue. I mean, it was profound information. It was like, whoa. And I remember there was like this old kind of scraggly, bearded hermit type guy on a log next to me, and after that sort of that prophetic whatever it was, I went over to him. It was like, man, I don't know if you saw that, but you just witnessed something so profound. He's like, get off me. And I was like, it's so great. I was like, oh man,
you weirdo.
But
I love that all of your like stories like this always involve someone like the girl on the phone where you're like, I know, or this random guy or your buddy who you're like, I'm Anakin Skywalker. There's always like a witness to these things.
Like an Agent
what are you
Smith
talking
in
about?
The Matrix? Yeah, exactly. There's always an Agent Smith hanging around.
That's great.
We have a few questions on missing 411, which I know, Bryce, is one of your favorite topics, and I've not really dived into or dove into what I can't dove in dove what
I think
dived into. I want all the Casey White says missing 411. I want all the deets. Have I missed this episode? Somebody else, Sirius Silvarum, says missing 411. Obviously, no one really knows what's happening to these people. I would be curious to know your thoughts and theories on the matter. Stephen Meyer Jr. again reminded this listener that we had, and both listeners were reminded that we talked a little bit about it in BCC 61. And then Casey, another listener, said, I wish there was a whole lengthy few episodes on it like they did with Roswell. So in a nutshell, Bryce, one of your favorite topics, comes up a lot.
Yeah.
Let's remind which high strangenesses involved missing 411, and then give us like what do you think's going on here?
Yeah, right. So I did the strange missing case of, I forgot how I titled it, but the strange disappearance
The
of
strange
Dennis Martin,
disappearance of Dennis Martin
with Spider One as a guest. Just Google that and it'll bring up the exact podcast. But that to me is like the gold standard of a missing 411 case. So yeah, I love the missing 411 stuff, and it's written by a gentleman named David Paulides, who was an ex-detective and cop for quite a long time. After he retired, he wrote a few books on, come to believe it or not, Bigfoot. Actually, he wrote some really great Bigfoot books. And then he was, as the story goes, he was in a national park, and a couple rangers had come up to him and they're like, "Hey, man, I don't know if you've ever thought about looking into this, but there's a lot of disappearances that happen in the national parks, and we don't keep record of them, and they're fucking strange. You should start talking to some of the search and rescue guys." And that started this journey for David Paulides, is of looking into all these strange cases of missing people that take place in national parks. And it wasn't like hundreds, or it was like thousands, and they're all so strange. And they have these certain parameters, right? Like for instance, it's usually nobody hears or sees a thing. The weather changes. They're usually around a place, that has like devil in the title, whether it's like Devil's Canyon, Devil's Ridge, strange places. Sometimes they find these people, like in these, and sometimes they're children, right? Which is just gets you, man. And there's like, they're so far up on a ridge that there's no possible way that they could have hiked up there. Sometimes they'll find the clothes like folded, and it's all just so strange. I'm fascinated by it because obviously it's the more sinister side to high strangeness, because the stakes are so high. I mean, people don't come back, and
So what do you think's behind it? What do you think, if you had to take a shot in the dark?
man, well, if you look at that Dennis Martin case, right, it that Key family reported seeing a man in furs carrying something over its shoulder. And so, I mean, David Paulides will never say it. He doesn't conjecture on these things, or he doesn't hypothesize. But I mean, you make the connection. Here's a guy that was studying Bigfoot and then moved over into this other subject. So this could be like the evil side of Bigfoot. Nobody fucking really knows, but there's something there.
Dark matter Bigfoot. We're on to something here. There. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Check out his films. I think they're both on Hulu. The Missing 411 and Missing 411 The Hunted. They're great. Love them.
They're on Amazon Prime as well. I've got them on the watch list that I'll probably never ever finish. But cool. Okay, great. Waffle Stomper says, I've always had a fascination with the strange tales surrounding the Florida Everglades. Recently, there's been a lot of talk about Florida's very own smelly Bigfoot, the skunk ape. But what about some of the other stories of high strangeness coming out of the nearly 3 million acres of swamps, forests, and marshes of southern Florida? There have been numerous disappearances, so here we are with the 411 stuff. Unsolved murders, UFO sightings, Bigfoot and Alligator Man sightings, and so on and so forth. Do you think this activity could be connected similarly to the likes of Skinwalker Ranch? Would love to hear what you guys think. Apologies if this has already come up on the show. Also, did anyone catch that damned BBQ Dong Man yet? He's terrorized enough chicken barbecues already. That, of course, is a reference to one of Bryce's secret stash videos over on the other side. I think he's still on the loose. Awesome. Who knows what the fuck's going on with Florida, right? That's been a question on everybody's mind over the past couple of years. Yeah, of course, I think all this stuff could be connected. I think that there's not just one Skinwalker Ranch area in the country where a bunch of high strangeness collides. There's the Bridgewater Triangle closer to the East Coast. I wouldn't be surprised if, there was a pocket of weirdness going on down in Florida. I don't know though,
Yeah, I guess
certainly
the
a
one
lot of
dis-
water down there, and water, as we sometimes hear, is a big conduit for supernatural activity and things of high strangeness. So I don't know, but we should probably take a look at some of these other stories and try to dig into it.
Yeah, I guess the one distinction I would make is, on the Skinwalker Ranch, no person was ever really hurt. I mean, cattle and dogs, animals were injured or even killed, but no people. It's when people get hurt or go missing that it takes on a new meaning and a new sort of like, just like a gut wrenching feeling that, like, I hope that's not related to all this strange. It's one thing to have cattle mutilations, but I don't ever want to see, it go the other way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. There's some alien protocols.
Certainly don't want it coming for me. Any new
No.
black-eyed kids cases? SCCT Jared asks. That stuff is creepy as fuck. None that I've come across yet. Bryce, any new black-eyed kid stuff? I mean, we had one in our L files not too long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was also from a
It's
while
kind
ago.
of creepypasta territory for me.
A lot of
little
it
bit.
is creepypasta territory, although I think the initial sightings that sparked it off with that guy, Brian Benson, I believe, something, or Boland, that happened in the parking lot, those seem to have some legitimacy around them. But yeah, I think unfortunately a
Yeah.
lot of these have been swallowed up by the creepypasta stuff that's been going around. But that's not to say that stuff that comes up in creepypasta doesn't manifest itself in some sort of tulpa form. You know what I mean? In mass consciousness.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll keep our eye out for you for sure. Mr. Chelsea Bergman says, request hidden in a question. Have y'all seen NASA the Smoking Gun? I'm guessing yes, but I would love to hear a deep dive ep on it, and especially a look into where Martin Stubbs, the guy who captured the footage, is now. There was some question whether he had died or just dropped off the map. Bryce, NASA the Smoke. This is like a 2003 documentary. I'm assuming about. There's theories that NASA. There's like Richard C. Hoagland wrote a lot about this, didn't he? That there's like the black books NASA, and they're hiding the truth about aliens and colonies that predate humanity on the moon. Lots of like satellite pictures of rocks that look like robot skulls that people point to and say, see, they're hiding the truth. To me, this stuff really treads in conspiracy territory. But I haven't given it its fair shake. So I actually haven't seen this documentary. I'm curious if you have, Bryce, or you.
Yeah,
Riley,
I've seen
assume...
it. Yeah, it's really good. I mean, it's hard. Look, NASA has footage, obviously, of UFOs or UAPs, but we've all seen those videos of of space missions where something that you see, fly across the screen, and NASA really doesn't like to talk about it, and if they do, they'll just say space debris. But some of these things, some of these objects, they dart like in these patterns that, they'll stop and then they'll move in these zigzag formations, and there's been even a handful of astronauts that have claimed to see UFOs on their space missions. So I think that's the film. It's an oldie but a goodie. But Dan Aykroyd talks on it, and yeah, Richard C. Hoagland, he was the big guy that was, he made a few books about even there being, bases on Mars and the moon stuff too. So it's interesting, but yeah, you're right. It's a slippery slope.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen that video you're talking about, and it does look like UFOs. And like, yes, there is like a black budget, top secret development part of the
Of course,
government.
why would
who
there
knows
be?
what they're doing?
Yeah.
But like, can we leave the good people of NASA alone? Like, the root of space exploration, I think, really is genuine and true, and I think people are. It's like astronauts are like superheroes. I don't know. The NASA conspiracy stuff, like, kind of like gets to me a little bit, honestly. Like, so, I don't know, but I haven't seen that documentary. I don't know anything about it. But that's like what I think in general.
I was eager to ask that question because I know, Riley, that always strikes a nerve with you, and with very good reason. I would say people.
Yeah, I mean, there's just like
a lot of
a little kid
hardworking
in me that
people
like used to build. Yeah, that's what. Like amazing, like heroes of our time. That should be respected. I don't know. There's like a little kid in me that used to build model rockets and like looks up to all that, and I still do look up to all that. So I think it should be admired, not admonished.
100%, man.
Jay Sladen 2. At one time, y'all were discussing favorite high strangeness stories, and one of you mentioned a story about a hunter being chased through the woods by robotic aliens. LOL. I forgot the county, but did try to find it and never could find anything on it. I got this one. Eric Q. Olson, who responded, is correct. This is the Cisco Grove encounter. This was the story of high strangeness I did, and I think that... I'm blanking on who the guest was. I think it was Andy Rosen was the guest on it. Can't think of the number right off the top of my head, but if you just look Cisco Grove encounter, that'll come up.
Right
Yeah.
BCC.
Cisco Grove. Yeah, so check that out. I think it's in the
BCC 25.
50s. Oh, early on. Wow, much earlier than I thought. So
the Cisco Grove
BCC
encounter with
25.
Andy Rosen.
One of my favorite stories. About a hunter who hit up a tree while robotic aliens tried to gas him and make him fall out of the tree and come up there and get him. It's a good one. That is a very perfect example of what I consider high strangeness.
Yeah.
All right, we have one more,
but we still used gas.
Yep. Weird.
Fuck you.
Oh, here's one that drifted by. What's the sexiest cryptid and why is it Mothman from Lyric? Loves pups.
Open and shut case right there.
Yeah,
that's all we need to know.
Get no argument from us.
Is Mothman? I mean, the Mothman statue in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, is fucking cut. I mean, he's got those like, he's got those V lines. He's very, very sexy. I'm trying to think. Like, I guess like, yeah. What else would be like an alien gray? Is not my bag. Might be somebody else's.
You're not into that. That's a different.
No, clearly there's a lot of people into erotic Bigfoot shit. So I'll leave that there.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever floats your boat.
Those oracles of Delphi in the movie 300 were pretty hot.
There you go.
Is that a cryptid?
Sure.
Counts.
I would say Valiant Thor is probably the sexiest figure of high strangeness, just because he was like all Don Draper decked out. Okay, I have one more question. Let's see here. If I skipped yours, I'm sorry. I'll answer it in the comments section. I just had it and now I'm trying to find it. Oh, here's one. Oh wow, we literally just got one in here. Okay. Or maybe just popped up as I'm scrolling.
Man.
Hot off the press.
We have Stephen Meyer also requested we have Adela Levine back on the show. Obviously, she will be.
Almost inevitable.
He wants answers to questions like, where do we go after death? Do we see our relatives? I mean, I think you can listen to
we all want that answer.
Yeah, we're with you. And I think if you listen to the two main episodes she's been on, we'll get, she gets into that. So this one's from Danielle TSB. And she asks, did Bryce ever share his story that shook him so deeply he didn't want to talk about it? Bryce, you've sort of hinted at this recently, I feel like. Yeah. It's 150 episodes now. Are you ready to open up and talk about your experience? Because we don't know what it is.
Not quite yet, but I'm unpacking it more and more as I think about it. And I did have a similar experience that I might be willing to share about 9 years ago. And so here's what I think happened to me. And this probably will clue you right in, not once, but twice. I feel that I had a spontaneous dimethyltryptamine emission. So we all produce DMT, and it's been called the spirit molecule for a reason. And most of our organs produce it, and it's produced endogenously. as I was corrected last time, which means our body makes it, and it's secreted. Scientists think during deep REM sleep, as well as when you're born and when you die, and 9 years. It's the only thing I could think of because I had what I can only describe as a mystical experience. And it's funny because there was a lot of shame in that for me, and I don't know why. It was almost like, I'd be okay with, talking about like being abducted or something, but having this mystical experience almost was like, ooh, that's delicate territory. But it was 9 years ago, and
Mystical in this.
well, I'll tell you, is like 9
Sorry
years
to
ago.
interrupt. Mystic.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry, there's a bit of a lag. I
There's
just
a
meant
bit of a
mystical
lag,
in the
yeah.
sense of it almost religious.
If you're religious, then yeah, that's how you would put it into context. So for me, it was. I remember I was really worried about 2012, right? And December 21st, 2012. It was this whole thing. And so I was
Totally.
reading a lot on the subject, and I was reading a lot of esoteric books and stuff. And I remember I got really into the macro and the micro. And I remember concentrating a lot on, as above and so below. And so I really got into just going into deep contemplation of the subatomic particles and all the space that existed within that subatomic particle. And you could just keep going. You could just keep going. And it felt so deep and so big, almost like the universe. Something triggered, and I was slammed into this sort of mystical experience where things got real buzzy, and I had this feeling of oneness with the universe, right? I mean, like fucking oneness, right? Like oneness with not just everybody, but with all of creation. Even the creator, as crazy as that sounds, right? And it lasted.
I don't think that sounds
Sure.
crazy, honestly.
It lasted for fucking 2 to 3 days, and it was scary, and it wouldn't go away. I remember driving to the airport, I think, to pick up my brother, and it was like living in the Matrix. I remember like seeing trees, but not trees, seeing the shadow, like seeing the energy of the root system. When I would look at a tree, I would see what you didn't see, you know? So,
Wow.
that like famous picture of, it's on the cover of the Manly Hall book, of the guy peering outside the veil. Let me just look it up.
Yes.
See what comes out. It's a
It's like
famous
an old
painting.
wood carving.
Yeah,
Yeah,
peering
we've used it
outside the
on
veil.
our out there episodes before over on the other side. I know exactly
Okay.
what you're talking about. It's like an old timey man from like
Yes.
medieval man. It's like a medieval wood carving, and he's sort
Yes.
of looking on the outside of our earthly realm to
I
like
want
the
to
other
find it
side, literally.
because sometimes, that's the thing about these experiences. And Terrence McKenna would always say, words just fail you, and words fail me because I just can't describe how it was. But so I want to find this this painting.
I know exactly
We'll
which
have
one
to
you're
put it up
talking about. So
okay,
we'll
here
put
it
it
is.
up.
We'll find it.
This describes the incident more than
Yes.
Oh, of course.
than
Yeah.
anything that I can
Yes, I
put
know.
words to. This was my experience, right?
Yeah.
And it was like my
Yeah.
head was peering outside into another world. And you know how you hear sometimes that like the dream world is more real than the real world? That was the feeling that I got. That what I was experiencing, that state that I was in, was what's real. That was the real deal, right?
Right. And that can get scary.
And that was scary, right? And then
Yeah.
and then our existence is not real, is the illusion. Very esoteric, right? And so it all ended and it was like, those little, you know those little coin drops that you like for charity, and you put a penny down a spiral thing, and it goes woo woo woo
Yeah.
woo 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 woo
Seem
woo.
like
You know
near
those
the
things?
bubblegum machines at a
Yeah.
restaurant. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So this is the best way I can describe my experience. It starts with that penny on top, and it goes woo 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 woo. And by day 3, the penny was down here going woo, and it was just like my head was gonna fucking explode. I remember going into my bed and curling up into a ball, and as the penny drops, it goes everything just goes fucking dead quiet. And I remember just having this thought. It was almost like that coming from outside of me, like you could end it all here. And it wasn't just when I say that, it felt like the entire universe, like I could end all reality now, stop it all,
Mhm.
or I could keep going. And I made the conscious decision to keep going, and it turned off, and things got back, and things
Wow.
slowly came back to normal. Had I made the other decision, I don't know, my head might have fucking exploded. I might have had
Right.
I might have gone into an epileptic seizure convulsion. I could have. I don't know. Maybe the universe would
Yeah.
have stopped existing. That's how real it felt, right? But
Yeah.
you get the sense. You get the sense that the world is the experience that you're having is for you alone. Like, you guys are just like part of my experience, right? This is the feeling that you get, right? And it's the same for you, right? Like, I'm just a sub character in the reality that was created for Michael McMillan, and the same goes for you, Riley. You know that it's all this is
You're a
just for
much
you.
bigger role in my life than that, Bryce.
But this is the
Best supporting actor. Let's be real.
this is the feeling, right? You've heard that saying, all the world's a stage, right? And
Mhm.
it took on sort of those dimensions. Anyway, for a lot of time I felt like, and it was scary for the people around me too, if that makes any sense. But
Well, sure, because
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a moment where you're like, am I having a psychotic break right now?
yeah,
You know what I mean? You
yeah,
would have to.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And I've come to the conclusion that no, it wasn't a psychotic break, but it was, so the best that I can come up with, because I've looked up that type of stuff, and you go right into after an event like that, you go into research fast and right away. Did I have was this schizophrenia?
Sure.
Is this psychosis? Like, what is what is this? And I was comforted by the fact that it's not a common experience, but it's not uncommon either, right? People do have these types of experiences, but I think what I've come up with was spontaneous dimethyltryptamine emission. Like a
Mm-hmm.
secret excretion of this DMT, and it floods your system, and boom, you just get launched. You
Yeah.
get fucking launched.
Yeah.
But yeah, so maybe one
Do you?
day,
I mean, I think you're absolutely right.
yeah. And so I had obviously.
You can explain. I mean, that was a big
Yeah,
piece
yeah, and obviously something
that
like
you
that
just gave us there.
happened again, and I mean, and maybe one day I'll feel more comfortable talking about that. But man, I mean, hope it doesn't happen again in another 8
Well,
years.
I would just. Well, I'll tell you what.
Every 8
Like,
years.
I'll tell you this, Bryce, right away. Like, obviously, that's an intense experience that you don't have to share anything you don't want to, and you don't have to share it on the show. This is obviously a safe space for you. I hope it feels that way. And then, obviously, if something ever like that does happen again, and you feel overwhelmed, you got 2 friends right here that you can express what you're experiencing, that we're not going to judge. So even if
oh,
we're not
totally.
doing it on the podcast, please feel free to reach out and be like, it's happening, and we can
Oh God,
help you
you do
help you
not want to
through
get
it,
that call.
well, I tell you what, I will take that call, and I'll go on that journey with you. So
Oh, thank
I
you.
just don't want you to feel when you're experiencing something like that you feel alone. You know what I mean?
Never
Because
would
that's got
I.
to be a
Never would I.
scary
And you know what?
scary
And
aspect too.
I'm really glad we've created this community. Just being able to talk about it makes me feel a little better about it. And so I'm proud of the community that we've created and the friendships that taken on, and so yeah, that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, to me, it really sounds like you had a spontaneous psychedelic experience. Like that has all the hallmarks of it, like the oneness, the sense of allowing the universe to collapse, the stakes of the whole
Oh,
thing,
yeah.
the realizing, the like levels of existence where you're like, oh, this is all just an illusion in front of me, and like it is to a degree, but it's also not. And yeah, there is like that interplay between like the psychedelic experience mind and psychosis and schizophrenia and like scary
Yeah.
stuff, and that idea of losing control of your own mind or losing that thread to reality,
For sure.
so it's really scary, but it's also super profound. And the fact that you had an experience like that without like drugs or whatever, I mean, well, who knows what you were doing 8 years ago, but
Right. No,
but the fact that
just some weed,
it happened,
just some
yeah, exactly, yeah,
and so I was
exactly.
not doing
But that can be the thing, that can be the trigger. Is like,
Yeah.
you never know what's gonna do that. But so I mean, it's nothing to be like ashamed of, like I've had similar experiences where I'm like, am I crazy? And it scared me for a while, and like I'm confident that I'm not.
Right.
But it's I think those are positive experiences. Those are growth, and those are sort of exploring like your consciousness and your connection to your surroundings. It's a positive thing overall.
Well,
I
it
think,
certainly changes the way you look at the world. That's for sure.
Yeah, for the better.
Great. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing. Honestly, that's great. I'm glad.
Good story.
Yeah, it is a great story. And thank you to our listeners for asking questions. Here's what I want to do, guys. I want to break now, and then we're going to come back and we're going to play the first game of Bullshit or Believe It that we have in a long time with just the three of us. We'll be right back. And we're back. And I just want to say thanks to all of our listeners who asked those questions. And I want to say thanks to Bryce for sharing that story and reminding our listeners that this is a safe space. I mean, you guys are talking to a guy he and his dog saw an alien outside his window. Okay. Nothing is weirder.
Fair enough.
Or sounds crazier than that. So I may still have you beat there. Okay. What I thought would be really fun, since we hadn't done it in a while, is play a game that we all know and love, which is to go down a list of phenomenon and say whether it's bullshit or believe it or not. So, guys, let's play a little bullshit.
Wait, did you hear that?
Bryce, or should we go back since you didn't say believe it?
Well, that was like I heard something, man. That was like a
what?
Oh yeah, me too.
Static burst or something.
Oh, I went to play the sound cue and then it I don't know.
Wait,
it
what?
Was like some weird.
You didn't hear that? It was weird. It was almost sounded like it. Dude, it sounded like a voice. I mean, I couldn't make out the word. Riley, you heard that, right? I mean, can you go back to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to stop the
Wait
recording,
a minute.
But
wait, are you guys serious? I'm confused.
No, seriously, I swear to God, I heard like a weird voice or
dude,
something.
What?
Seriously. Yes.
Wait, is this like a strange thing? Bryce, can you check your connection, Bryce?
Yeah, it's not me. Mine's fine.
I did see your video like freak out for a second there, Bryce.
This is a new thing. I didn't hear anything.
Oh shit. Do you guys hear that?
No. What?
I no, I don't hear anything now.
I don't
Bryce.
hear anything.
I don't.
Bryce?
Your audio line is going crazy.
Bryce. Wait, is he?
Wait, what's happening?
Bryce, you're frozen. Wait, no, he's. Bryce, are you?
Hey,
What?
caramba! It's been a few months. How are you, Riley and Bryce's weird friend?
Uncle Dickie?
Yeah.
Wait, Uncle Dickie from our Manscaped commercials? But wait, you're dead.
Yeah, that's right. I'm dead and more alive than ever. I just wanted to stop by and let you guys know that the afterlife is positively groovy.
Oh, wow.
Whoa, tell us about it.
Well, for one thing, we get to binge every episode of every show ever made or ever will be made whenever we want. I'm on WandaVision Season 3 right now. Scooby-Doo and Mr. Belvedere are now officially part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
I knew that multiverse stuff would get out of control.
Wait. So you're just binge watching TV in the spirit
Well, a
realm?
part of me is, Riley. Thanks to the fifth dimension, I exist everywhere all at once now. So I'm watching my stories, chatting with you two nuts, surfing across the starry rim of the Andromeda Galaxy, and making out with the ghost of Donna Dixon all at once.
Wait, the Donna Dixon, the actress, I think she's
Yeah?
still alive.
Yeah, I think she
What?
is. Yeah.
Oh, well, who have I been playing tonsil hockey with then this whole time? You know what? No matter what, I just want to congratulate you boys on 150 episodes and let you know that I know it's been a rough year, but things are going to be getting better real soon.
Well, that's such a relief.
Yeah.
Uncle Dickie. Thanks.
And you know what? You have a solid 6 years before the singularity hits and the robots take over. So that's nice.
Wait, what?
Well, let's just say, weird friend of Bryce's, that the robots don't become our sex dolls. It's the other way around, Kind of sad I'm missing out on that.
Ugh.
I mean, thanks for the heads up, I guess.
All right, I'll be right there. Look, hey, I gotta go. Wanda and the Vision are officially welcoming the Affleck duck to the MCU. I gotta see if he's secretly Mephisto. That show just keeps you guessing, huh?
Wow. Well, I'm. This is truly shocking. I want to thank you for stopping by, Uncle Dickie, even though you can't remember my name still. But you know what? We'll tell Bryce you said hi.
Yeah, tell him I say hi. Oh, and listen, that reminds me. I need to pass along 2 messages. Number 1, please tell
Okay.
that Adela Levine to stop checking in on me when I'm on the toilet. That's my time.
I mean, you could just like tell her yourself. She's a medium. That's like her whole deal.
Oh, and the other thing. I saw you got a comment from
Why are you smacking your lips? Are you eating something?
Yeah, they got the best Pringles out here in the afterlife. There's all different kind of flavors. I'm doing like barbecue hibiscus crickets. It's really good. Anyway,
Ugh.
I saw in a comment from one of your Patreons this morning. His name is Danny, right? First off, I want to thank him for subscribing to the other side and supporting your dorky show, but I didn't really appreciate that he said he hated me and was glad I was dead. So, to Danny, I would cordially like to say, I hope you enjoy the shadow creatures because I just gave him your address.
Okay, Uncle Dickie, please don't harass our listeners with night terrors.
Hey, I got eternity to kill, boys. Let me have my fun. Sayonara, weirdos. See you on the flip side.
Okay. All right.
Whoa.
Some things never.
Whoa.
Hey,
What?
Bryce, are you
Where's
okay?
my shirt off? What happened?
Dude,
Bryce, are you
okay?
You remember all that, right?
Remember all
that
what?
was
We're doing bullshit.
you were,
you were-
you were doing a bit, right? That was like a Bryce.
You were
Bryce bit?
possessed by Uncle Dickie.
What do you mean I was possessed by Uncle Dickie?
Uncle Dickie's ghost possessed you.
Oh, that would explain the smell.
Yeah,
Oh.
you mentioned something about Pringles. All right, this is okay. That was too much. I think we should just skip bullshit or believe it. Let's get to the story of high strangeness before Uncle Dickie makes a comeback. Okay.
Yeah. Guys, in all seriousness, while that was happening, my light started blinking. Oh my!
Whoa! It just did it again. That.
Oh. You guys.
All right.
Uncle Dickie.
I'm not. I swear to God, I'm not doing that.
I get. Look, we're getting visited by Uncle Dickie, and apparently there's. Look, I got goosebumps right now.
Weird.
Do me too.
Bryce, are you okay? Are you all
Yeah,
right though?
I feel a little funky, but in a good way.
All right, that light is weird. I want to get on with this. Can we just move on because now I'm getting freaked out? Let's just wrap this whole.
Let's move on. We're moving on.
Let's wrap this whole spectacular up, okay? I don't want to invoke any more spirits. Let's not do that.
I don't think that would be a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's no easy way to segue out of this. I think. But I brought in a story of high strangeness this week that is gonna, I think, knock your socks off. This is a very weird story. Another one that I found in the Illustrated History of UFOs by, oh my God, I'm going to have to look it up again. I just forgot. I wish I had it in front of me. It's like Andrew Allsuch Boardman, I believe, is the author and illustrator of it. So we talked a little bit about it during a Northern Frights episode over on the other side. But, well, let's just begin this way, shall we? Beware of the blob. It creeps and leaps and glides and slides across the floor, right through the door and all around the wall. A splotch, a blotch. Be careful of the blob.
Ooh, sounds like one of those
So
mirror
go-
curses you have to do 3 times.
Yeah, and then a blob shows up.
Yeah.
Anyway, those are the lyrics from Mac David and Burt Bacharach's jazzy Surf's Up style opening theme song, performed by none other than the 5 Blobs over the opening credits to the 1958 classic horror movie, The Blob. It was a goofy, upbeat Monster Mash style hit that almost seems out of place for a movie about a slimy, amorphous alien creature that hatches out of a meteor and begins to devour a small American town through gelatinous digestion, growing in strength and size with each oozing consumption of innocent townspeople. But I guess with the name like The Blob, it's hard to take it too seriously. But what if I told you that very same year that Paramount Pictures unleashed The Blob in unsuspecting American theaters on September 12th, 1958 to be exact, 2 men would have an eerily parallel encounter outside the town of Domsten, Sweden, facing down an amoeboidal, like it's a very hard word to say, an amoeboidal. It's almost an onomatopoeia. An amoeboidal. Attackers from another world. And they'd barely make it out alive to tell their story. This is the truly strange tale of the Domsten Blobs. The story of the Domsten Blobs begins like many UFO encounters in a car driving down a highway at night. Now, on this particular night, December 20th, 1958, 2 Swedish men, Hans Gustafsson, 25, and Stig Rydberg, 30, were driving from Höganäs to Helsingborg after a rowdy night out with their girlfriends. Their destination? Gustafsson's mother's house, a woman by the name of Anna Bergman.
They didn't go home with their girlfriends?
Yeah, that's right. I know after a long night of partying with the ladies, I'm going straight to mom's house.
Now, exactly why these 2 virile young Swedes were ditching their girlfriends in one city to sleep at one of their mother's houses in another one is anyone's guess, you guys. I mean, I suppose it was the 1950s and it was the decent thing to do.
Sure.
Plus,
Good Swedish boys.
yeah, plus they both worked for Anna's dry cleaning business, so perhaps they were headed back to face the holiday rush. At any rate, the road was foggy that night and visibility was low, so Gustafsson was driving at a slow pace, doing his best not to crash his car on the way home and possibly trying to override a glögg-filled buzz. Don't drink and drive, kids. At around 3 a.m., the 2 men, Hans and Stig, decide to pull over for a quick pit stop to piss in the ditch just outside the town of Domsten. As the party boys relieve themselves, they peered across the way, and they noticed a reddish-orange glow emitting from the tree line in the early morning haze. 3 a.m., so we're here, we're right in the pocket of high strangeness.
Yeah.
Curiosity getting the better of them, and assuming there was perhaps some kind of fire erupting in the woods, the 2 men zipped their respective flies and marched towards the source of light. As they approached the woods, they passed a no camping sign along the way, which is going to come in handy in a bit. And when they reached a clearing, Hans and Stig were shocked to discover not a forest fire, but a disc-shaped object seemingly made of light, about 3 feet high and 15 feet in diameter, resting atop 3 thin legs as landing gear. Hans would later explain... Bryce, if you'd play the role of Hans for us, please.
Yeah, sure. We saw a strange disc. It was resting on legs about 2 feet long. It seemed to be made of a peculiar shimmering light that changed color.
Within moments of
Kind of more German.
Well, my mother's mother was German.
My name
Even
is
though
Hans.
we moved into Helsinki when I was just a little boy.
That checks out. Yeah.
Within moments of taking in this mystical and strange craft, Hans and Stig were surrounded by a pack of billowing, amoeba-like entities at about 3 feet in height, dancing about in the air. Stig said, "They were like protozoa, just a bit darker than most, sort of a bluish color, hopping and jumping around the saucer like globs of animated jelly. What at first seemed...
Protozoa.
Protozoa. I like that too. It's like, like protozoa. Everyone knows what
They're like protozoa.
Did you say it was like protozoa, Hans? Oh,
Yeah,
I'd
they're
say
like
that.
protozoa.
Protozoan for sure.
They're like these. They also describe them as being like loaf-shaped. So there's these like 3 foot tall blobs. They're just blobs, and they're dancing around, doing this almost like ritualistic dance near the UFO in midair. Now, what at first seemed like a benign encounter with mystical beings became a sudden, terrifying attack. The blobs swarmed Hans and Stig, wrapping their jelly-like bodies around their legs and arms with incredible force. Stig would claim that the sensation felt like the beings were made of some kind of magnetic dough. The two men began fighting for their lives, tugging at their arms and legs, breaking free only to swing at the blobs and get swallowed up again, the creatures engulfing their punching fists up to their elbows. During the fight, Hans and Stig were assaulted with a terrible stench emitting from the primordial soup monsters, and with a strong suction-like force, the blobs began dragging their victims helplessly towards the saucer of light. Hans described it like this.
That's me. Hold on. The drag the things exerted was terrific, and they gave off such a terrible smell, like ether and burnt sausage.
A game of alien tug-of-war ensued as the two men would break free only to be latched onto by another gluey entity. As the abduction unfolded, Hans and Stig could see the other blobs dancing about them in a strange intergalactic ballet. Whatever these entities were and wherever they came from, they were predatorial, and they were winning the fight. Stig said, "It almost seemed as if the creatures could read my mind. They parried every move before I made it. Their strength was not so great as the technique with which they wielded it." Stig managed to break free, and he made a run for the car. As he fled his gelatinous attackers, he looked back to see Hans desperately clinging for his life, grasping onto the no camping sign as the floating blobs hoisted his legs parallel to the ground and yanked for dear life. Stig, positive that his friend was going to end up dead, or worse, made it to the car, screaming, tears streaming down his face, and laid on the horn, hoping that someone, somewhere, would hear his desperate cries for help. Oddly, this seemed to be the action that ultimately saved both of their lives. As soon as the horn blared, the blobs released Hans and stampeded back to the woods and into the craft. Hans scrambled back to the car just in time to witness the UFO streak up into the sky with an ear-piercing whistle. Only 5 minutes had passed since the assault had started, but for Hans and Stig, it felt like an eternity. They sat in their car and sobbed, their adrenaline rushing. Finally, they were able to compose themselves and return to Hans' mother's house. When they got there, they both agreed that they wouldn't tell anyone what happened. They'd surely be laughed at. For the next few days, the men didn't sleep. They had trouble eating. They experienced symptoms of PTSD. And finally, on the third morning after the attack, they broke down over breakfast and told Hans's mother, Anna, and his brother what had happened. At first, they laughed at them, just as the men feared. But when they realized the emotional state the two men were in, and I assume after observing how strange they must have been behaving for the past few days, Anna quickly switched gears and contacted the local newspaper so the men could report their harrowing tale. I love that she laughs at them, and then she's like, maybe not enough people are laughing at you. Let's get more people in on this.
Let's tell everyone in the world.
There's a theory that maybe she told this story because she thought it might be good advertising for the dry cleaning company.
Right.
But as the men were in her... where did I lost my place? Okay. So what followed next is mostly lockstep with other UFO close encounter stories. The men told their story and stuck to it. The local law enforcement got involved and interviewed the two men, and much like Calvin Parker and Charles Hickson, who suffered from the Pascagoula abduction, they left the two men alone in an interrogation room and recorded them in an attempt to catch them plotting a lie. But even in private, the men spoke in earnest of their terrifying abduction attempt. They were medically examined and psychologically profiled over the course of a few days. Skeptics and law enforcement tried to find a crack or flaw in the recounting of their story, but Hans and Stig never wavered. They were found to be of sound mind and body and diagnosed as victims of trauma from an unknown origin. The men were interviewed by Swedish ufologist Gösta Rehn, who, fucking badass name by the way, who found their story to be genuine despite the fact that the Swedish military wrote the whole thing off as a hoax. Rehn was fascinated with the descriptions of the creatures, especially their ability to float and undulate in the air. Bryce, you want to take a stab at Gösta Rehn's quote for us?
An acceptable explanation of the creature's ability to fly may be that the UFO, through a surrounding gravitational field of electrical origin, may have created swirls or similar concentrations of energy.
As for the skeptical listener hearing this tale and saying to themselves, "Are you kidding me? Come on, Michael. You said it yourself. The movie The Blob had just opened in theaters back in September of that year. Surely these were just two drunk Swedish fuckboys who confused Mist for a camp classic movie monster from a Steve McQueen movie. Well, listener, to you I say, maybe, but here's one thing to counter the argument. The Blob had opened in the US, but it wouldn't be released in Sweden until January 25th, 1960, over a year and a month after this story took place. That's the thing about Europe. They always get our pop culture a little bit later. So, that's the thing about Europe.
That's the thing.
It's the only thing. That's the thing.
That is the thing about
That's
Europe,
it.
guys.
Sums it up.
They got Friends like 2 seasons after we did. Next time you're running late on your way home from a jovial evening and ditch your girlfriends to stay at your mom's house, and you feel like you need to pull over on a misty road and take a leak in a ditch, please heed this warning. Beware of the Blob, for you may not be as lucky as Hans and Stig. And that is the harrowing tale of high strangeness of the Domsten Blobs.
Domsten.
Horror.
If it wasn't for the horn of my Volkswagen Scirocco, we would have never made it out of there.
We'd all be
We'd
dead.
all be dead.
And covered in sticky blob.
It's a blob.
Guys,
Sticky magnetic electro blob.
sticky magnetic bread.
That's you know, man, like I want to see that. I want to see someone make that. It's like a music video or something. They're all surrounding the UFO.
Yeah.
I can see it, and then them
they're
latching
like,
on,
countering
and
their motions.
Yeah,
it's
Yeah,
very
it's
comic booky. It's very like him punching
Yeah.
and then getting like sucked into it.
It anticipates it. Yeah.
And the things like
What a scene, and then braking for the
things
car.
like I'm not so strong, but I'm fucking agile, dude. So don't fuck with me. You know what I mean?
Blob move.
You're getting in our UFO of light one way or another.
Yeah, that's a wild story. I like this blob creature thing. It's very.
I do too. So
I
at
don't
the
know.
back of this book,
like it.
The Illustrated History of UFOs, there's like a great diagram of all these different aliens from all these different encounters. And I saw this one that looked like this weird blob, and I was like, what is this from? And that's how I've tracked down the story. It's hard to find a lot of information about it. I pulled this together from some Cryptid Wikia and a Cryptonaut. This guy, I think his name Rob Mowry, wrote an article on it. I'll throw up some links if you want to check it out. And the quotes come from that article via a book called Strangers from the Skies, which is a classic UFO book that as I was studying the story, I tried to order off Amazon, but wouldn't arrive until after this episode was aired. But it's a book I definitely want to check out. The lesson here being that, dude, we have barely scratched the surface of some of these stories over in Europe, and we've got so much wild shit. And this is right in the middle. This is in the 50s, and there's all this weird shit I'm finding from like the 70s that like really fit into that like John Keel high strangeness sweet spot. And that's why I wanted to pick this story for the 150th episode, because it's fucking weird, dude.
Yeah.
It'd be great if there were some like European boys who wanted to get together and start a European Bigfoot collectors club. We'd give them permission to do so.
We'll franchise it out. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. So what the hell is this? What do you guys think this is? Is this alien? Is this ultra terrestrial? What are we looking at here?
All of the above.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, if we're getting into blobs and UFOs, this is full high strangeness, full throttle. It's ultra terrestrial, it's extraterrestrial, it's consciousness observer based. It's all of the things.
I even wondered if these were some kind of drones as well, some sort of artificial intelligence, like send the magnetic blobs to go gather stuff. That maybe these are just sort of some sentient energy form that's just meant to go snatch and bring shit back to the mothership.
Yeah. Well, they
they're
failed.
like little blobby hunters.
They weren't expecting the horn of the Scirocco.
But how many times have they succeeded? And maybe in some of these missing 411 cases.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I mean, you're exactly right. Yeah. Who knows?
Wow. All right, guys. Well, that wraps up BCC 150. I want to thank ourselves for being here. Let's take a quick moment to plug our shit. Why not? Riley, Bryce, why don't you start off?
Sure. Find me on social media. I'm at Mr. Bryce Johnson on Instagram and Twitter. And go to the DPCU game to play my adult picture cover-up game. And watch Expedition Bigfoot on Discovery Plus. Seasons 1 and 2 available now.
Fantastic.
Right on. You can follow me on Instagram at Peace Drone. I do it now sometimes. I like it. I'm into it. Thank you guys for getting me going on that. Spindrift album is in pre-sale. The lacquer has now been cut apparently, and it's a whole long process, but it will come out this year, I promise. Probably June now. I'll have a firm date.
Oh,
soon.
great.
But
okay, great.
it's coming. It's coming for real. It exists. It's coming. So you can go pre-order that at alternativetentacles.com.
Fantastic. Guys, follow me on Instagram at McMills, also on Twitter. I'm mostly on Instagram. And do me a favor, please follow me. My commercial agents tell me if I hit 30,000 followers, I might get some work opportunities sent my way.
Oh, is that what
and
it
let me
takes,
tell you,
30,000?
apparently,
social currency.
Let me tell you what. After a year of the pandemic, I need the work. But in all seriousness, just follow me over there. I'm posting pictures of movies that I watch and my dog, and then of course, the occasional fun shit. And then do us a big favor. Check us out over at BCC The Other Side, the Patreon, where we'll be throwing up this video if it comes through, and future videos. And we drop 3 to 5 bonus episodes every month. We're covering every episode of Expedition Season 2. We're recapping it with Bryce. We have so much content dropping over there right now. Check us out. Come by give us 1 month. Try us for 1 month. Drop $5. See how much stuff is over there. If you don't like it, you can fuck off. That's fine. It won't hurt our feelings. But if you like this episode with as much as Riley was chiming in, you'll really dig what we're doing over there on the other side. It's really become an extension of the regular show. So we'll see you over there. And then finally, if you don't want to do that, there are other ways you can support the show. Go to Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review. If you do, not only will it help boost our algorithm and find new listeners, we might read it right here on the air, like this one from Hips Don't Lie 187. Don't murder anybody with those hips. He or she says, or they say, can't stop listening. 5 stars. I can't stop listening to these hosts, their guests, and all of their stories. The best thing about them is that they are serious about the paranormal, but don't take themselves too seriously. So they are highly entertaining, but also able to deliver a paranormal story and discuss paranormal theories with great eloquence. I'll be listening as long as they keep releasing the show. Let's hope they never run out of stories of high strangeness. 5 stars. I mean, what a beautiful anniversary gift. Hips Don't Lie.
That's everything we hope to do, really,
Yeah, thanks for telling
Sorry,
the
Michael,
truth.
No,
I was just saying thank you. All right, boys. I guess this is it until next week. Ooh, should I tease that? I think I will. We're going to be doing another deep dive real soon. So get ready, guys. Uncle Michael's cooking something up for you. A classic cryptid deep dive. All right, we'll see you next week. Until then, good night.
And go get regressed. Bigfoot Collectors Club is produced by Riley Bray. Our theme song is Come Alone by Sun Eaters, courtesy of Lotus Pool Records. If you like the show, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It really helps get the podcast to more listeners. To support the show, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Bigfoot Collectors Club and unlock multiple reward episodes every month.